Republican presidential candidate Chris Christie called out his fellow Republican presidential candidate Ron DeSantis on the way that his anti-woke crusade, or whatever you want to call it, has caused him to do things that, by the own articulation of conservatives' ideology, by their own articulation, I should say, of their own ideology, is very contradictory to that ideology. It seems to violate the principles that they purport to support with small government and leave it up to the parents and all these different things, especially when it comes to trans individuals and the way that Republicans want to dictate the specific cans and can'ts on that front within their states and take it out of the hands of the individual, the parent, medical professionals, etc. And so I'll show you this, then we'll discuss further.
Have you spent a lot of time with Ron DeSantis?
I have not.
He seems like he wants to be tough, but not take on Trump. It doesn't seem to be working for him.
Oh, I think we could all agree right now, including probably Ron, that it's not working for him. I mean, when you fire a third of your staff and you're on your third reboot since May, things are tough. But we'll see what happens. You never know.
Do you think that wokeness is as big a threat to America as Ron DeSantis does? Are you waking up in the night worried about people being woke?
I don't agree with much of it, but I think that we have much bigger issues that we should all be concerned about and discussing as much as that's being discussed. And so, on many of those issues, my view is I think when it involves kids, we should let parents deal with that. And we don't need the government in the middle of this stuff on either side of it, pushing an agenda one way or another. I think parents should be the people who are dealing with their kids on stuff like that. I'm not a big government conservative, and it looks to me like Ron is a big government conservative and thinks that he can substitute his judgment for the judgment of parents.
Exactly right.
And I think that's a dangerous thing for either party to get involved in.
So I actually going to ask you about this. So parents and doctors come together and decide that the best course of action for a trans teenager is to begin transition for their mental health, for their long-term prospects. That's what the medical community says is best. That's what the teen, the doctors, the parents all say. And you're saying the government should not be allowed.
I don't think it's smart for them. I don't think it's smart for them to do it. I don't want to see people in government substituting their judgment for a parent's judgment. I could tell you this. I speak about this as a father first before.
And then he continues. But it's interesting. When I hear Chris Christie talk, it reminds me of what the political debates could be, because Chris Christie is very far from me on policy. He is much to the right of me, being a Republican and a conservative, but he at least has enough reason to have, and he has reason to have conversations to articulate in ways that you can engage with his conservative opinions and his conservative stances. And then I could take my stances, take his, and have a debate that is somewhat reasonable, that gets you somewhere, and then maybe we continue to disagree and fight one another within the political arena. But there's some attachment to reality and some honesty there of trying to stick to your principles, not to ignore the past of Chris Christie's support for Trump and many different things that shouldn't be ignored with Chris Christie. It's just the juxtaposition between him and the current MAGA Republicans is so stark. It's hard not to think about, imagine if all Republicans were Chris Christie's and that's what we had to deal with on the other side. Maybe we can make more progress, even though we would disagree severely on lots of things. And here, he's accurately identifying that this whole small government conservative ideology, Republicans, we should take the government out of your life, clearly was not authentic, because the second that they disagree with something that different individuals are choosing to do, they want to get the government, the state, involved in making those decisions, saying, parents, doctors, you shouldn't be able to make these decisions. It should be up to Ron DeSantis or Greg Abbott or whoever it might be. And then some states are wanting to go beyond that, even separate from the parental argument with people underage, that adults shouldn't have options as well when it comes to gender affirming care. And so the small government conservatism of leave the government out of your life, let people make their own decisions, that is going by the wayside in the name of fighting back against wokeness. Like we talked about with Ron DeSantis wanting to sue possibly Anheuser-Busch InBev because of the Bud Light boycott that he supported, but now it's hurting the Anheuser-Busch InBev stock, which the Florida State Pension Fund has some of that stock. And so now he thinks maybe we'll take legal action because of the financial damage that's done to this portfolio. And the damage that he's referring to is a boycott that he supported. It makes no sense, but he wants the state of Florida possibly to take action against the company for going too woke in his mind. It's wild. That is not in line with the principles they told us they believed in, Ron DeSantis and many others. So then you realize, oh, they just didn't want government programs that benefited people. They just didn't want those solutions being put forward. It wasn't about the principle. It was just about an opposition to the individual policy. Thank you so much for watching. If you want to be a part of what makes this show possible, plus get access to the full video version of the show hours before all the clips are able to be uploaded to the YouTube channel, plus get the bonus show on the weekends, you can do so by going to lukebeasleyshow.com/membership. That's lukebeasleyshow.com/membership, and there's a link in the description.